Yes,
Yep.
Candice, thank you so much for being here with me today. I'm so excited to interview you as one of our students and your experience, and then, of course, all about your $91,000 day. So, for anyone who's watching, do you want to just share a little bit of who you are?
Yeah, so I'm Candice. I live in South Australia on the beach with my family, and I've been in the wellbeing industry for ever since I left school. Basically, I studied naturopathy, massage, collected. I think as people in our industry do, we just collect modalities and keep studying. But I always came back to, the deeper I worked with my clients, it was such more internal stuff. Even I was working body work and all of that, but unless kind of we change the way they perceive the world basically in themselves, the sore shoulder and the sore neck, it just kept coming back or stuff like that. So then I was watching you online for ages, and I think I really resonated because you talked in like there was this mystical way, it was like the manifestation and the abundance, but also, this bit of strategy as well. And I was like, oh, you're speaking my language. And I always make decisions by feeling into my body. And I fell into my body, and it was a big investment for us as a family. And I spoke to my husband. It was so awesome. I remember him saying, babe, this sounds like this course was written for you. He's like, let's do it. And then we did it. And seriously, we've never looked back. It's been like one of the best investments that almost as a family that we have made. So thank you.
Amazing. I'm so happy to hear that. And when did you sign up? Did you sign up for the program that's just been redone? So after
Yes, I think
September 2021?
Yes. Yeah, because it was during COVID. And so that was like rocking my world because I was such an in-person kind of facilitator. And we were like Australia got really locked down, and we were like, my husband lost his job as well. And so it was like, well, what can we, I really need to take advantage of this online world, and how can I shift my, in-person business online? And I felt like, I feel like your course for me was like this umbrella kind of, and it allows me to hold all my skills previously, plus have these like beautiful ways to ask my clients questions and dive deeper and go deeper with them in this really safe and beautiful way. So yeah, I feel like it's just been the container for me to hold all of me. So yeah, it's been wicked, and I can take it all online.
Absolutely. Yeah. We literally designed it for working online and designed it for COVID. So it's great because you can do it online, you can do it in person. And yeah, it's so life changing. We did a live goal setting event yesterday for 2023.
I know I missed it.
It was so nice to be in the energy of everyone, and people got such huge shifts. So yeah, I'm obsessed with the techniques, obviously.
Yeah, oh my God, they're so good.
So let's jump right into it. Tell me about your $91,000 day.
Yes. So there was a bit of a journey to that as well. I want to talk about two things that I released through the course, which were really pivotal to me, and then what I've been able to achieve since finishing. So first of all was in a parts integration, and I adore parts integration so much. I just find it such a beautiful, beautiful technique. And we were working on, I always had this I want to be successful, but I also just want to sit on the couch and not do anything and live my life just, there. And so we did it, and it was so fascinating. I literally came out of that and realized I had the belief that success equaled literal death. Like my dad had a stroke at the height of his career, which I was aware of, and I watched that, but I didn't know then that I internally held that belief. And so I was like, of course I could never let myself want to be or be successful, because my body, as I learned from you, my subconscious mind, its goal was to keep me alive. So there was no way that could have ever happened. So once that release, that was a huge release for me. I felt like it took me a couple of days to kind of let my body integrate this new belief and possibility. And then once that was in, it was like this new, it's like we attract by how we feel and how worthy we are. So it's like that kind of, then I vibrationally changed. So that was one of the biggest shifts. And then there was another one that I never finished things. And I remember working with is Tiana. We had some really cool sessions together, and she was like, you keep saying you never finish things. And I never really thought it was that big a deal. And then we went back, and when we released that, I was like, oh my God, like I can finish things. And it wasn't even that I can, it was like this desire to want to finish things. I've never had that.
So
And we found it back in
beautiful.
my childhood, like when I was really, and so this desire to finish things. So then like, it's like this worthiness inside of me just got really big. And then I started to just feel really worthy of success and worthy. I think that I could really help people too. It's like, even though I'd worked with clients forever, there was something inside of me that felt still like I wasn't enough to help people. But it's amazing how those two things shifted. And not only did that thing of not finishing things shifted, but then I finished the course because I did all the subjects, but then I had to do the exam. And it was so funny. It was like I resisted just doing that last little part. And then when that technique dropped in and held me, I finished the exam and I stepped out into
It's
the world
amazing.
feeling very confident and worthy. And then my first launch, so before the $91,000 day, my first launch was $30,000. I used to earn half that in a year. Like that was, so that was just like that was the first mind blowing, like, what? Like, and it was from joy and love and doing what I love and online and just, the work that you do, it's so joyous and like effortless and simultaneously giving. I find it such a simultaneous, like my clients have these beautiful, I call them rememberings. I feel like they're just remembering who they are. And I simultaneously have the remembering. So it's just such a beautiful, beautiful work that we get to do now coming out of Best Supply. And then so I just feel like my worth, and then the way the $91,000 day came is actually from a client of mine who's having huge success, and she's like a marketing strategist. She works online with strategy, but we've been working for about a year since I finished the course, and she's gone on from $0 to she had a $660,000 year or something like that. And when we came together, so she actually invited me in. She said, Candice, your work has been like, I don't think I could have done this without your like alignment. I call myself an alignment coach. Without your strategies and like without your work, can you come into my business? And so we together came in and we had just an internal launch, like to her little community of 69 people that are in her internal world. And yeah, 90, I think it ended up being $92,000 within 24 hours of our launch. That was a combined launch together, and that she'd never experienced that before either. So it was like, it was wild. I had to lay under the covers after that in my bed, just letting my body kind of like, you would have experienced this, like letting it allow that to be a new normal and reality for me. It's like my body kind of had a bit of a freak out. Do you get that?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. You have to normalize it, or else the thoughts of, I'm going to lose it, come in.
Yeah.
Right. I remember when I first moved into my house, because my whole life I lived in like apartments or lived with my grandma. So when we first bought our house, it's a $5,000, more than $5,000, 5,000 square foot. Imagine, that would be great. A 5,000 square foot house. It was like, this is too big. This can't last. This is going to get taken away. Like I have extra space, extra rooms. What? So yeah, you have to normalize it in the nervous system to be like, this is normal. So
yes, that's a big, I'm seeing this is a big part of the work, right? Like we can change our minds and stuff, but then the body, it takes longer to come along for that journey. And so I found that grounding my nervous system after those, the mind quickly opens up, and then the manifestations come in, or your success, and then it's like, okay, now I need to breathe through this and allow myself to have this and hold this.
This is so beautiful. Thank you for sharing your whole story, and not your whole story, because I know there's so much more, but thank you for sharing the journey, because what it sounds like is you had to clear some things and get them out of the way, the blocks, the resistance, the old beliefs, the old identity. And then when you did that, you stepped into the pure energy of the wealth that you deserve and the abundance that you deserve, and you attracted it. You didn't need to spend 6 years learning all the marketing hacks and strategies. you attracted someone who's in the marketing world and you work together. So that's such a beautiful really synchronicity.
Yeah, 100%. And that's where like the manifestation, and that's why I love you talking about it and the universal laws and all of that. Because, and this is another thing that I feel like has dropped in for me as this, with this work, is like, it's just this belief, you know, how like experienced teachers, Abraham Hicks always say that it's like words don't teach. It's like, this works. This is what just keeps coming to me now after this. It's like, this works. This work works. I'm a living, breathing, you know, embodiment and proof that this works. Like, and the fact, like, I don't care for strategy, but this person, my client, does. And so I feel like coming together, it's perfect. I don't have to learn the strategy and implement the strategy. Some people love it. Like my client and now my business partner, she loves strategy. So that is her gift to the world. And so she shines in it. And then it allows me to shine in mine, which is definitely, I say it's the energetic alignment. It's the foundations, it's the inner, that I align that with, you know, where they're wanting to go. And she has kind of the proven steps. And then together we saw what happened. But yeah, it's that for me, it was the worth coming out of your course that I felt that definitely led me to attract what I'm attracting.
That's so beautiful. So a big thing is, I'm sure a lot of the Yes Apply Method students who are going to be watching this are going to be asking, what exactly happened on that day? So it sounds like you brought together the energy and you brought together a little bit of strategy. So do you want to share what you did to create that alongside your partner?
It's almost like I don't know. Almost like when we came together. Well, in saying this, actually, she said to me so many times, she kind of hit a roadblock with her clients because she's just strategy, right? And they and lots of them were finding success and lots of them weren't. And she's like, the missing piece is alignment. The missing piece is this inner work, the mindset, the manifestation. Like that's the missing piece. Like, you know, like what I said about mine, like I could have been in that strategy course, but if my subconscious thought I would die if I actually earned the money, it would have still never worked. I would have sabotaged. I'm not going to follow through, right? Exactly. Yeah. So she knew this. So it was like, I think it was really amazing of her to see what her clients needed. And then, you know, we did a lot of work with her, even like to be open to collaboration. And I didn't know at the stage that we were opening for me to step in, because that wasn't even talked about. Which she knew that she needed support. So we had to do some inner work and we used the techniques for her to, she had a lot of trust issues and all of this stuff. So we had to do all of that inner work on her to feel safe and supported, and where she was next going to then invite me in. And then it was almost like then I worked with her around the energetics of this launch. So, you know, what does she want? And we lined up with like, you know, some big numbers with her, like, so got the belief on board for her. And I was in a place actually of pure surrender. So the last 3-4 months, I've been really playing with just pure surrender and serving from a place of love, having all my tools and techniques, feeling worthy, and then almost like just like God, universe, send me where I'm needed.
Yeah. So
I was still working on that from that place, and then aligning her to her big vision, because she works really well. She's a strategist. She works really well on goal setting, and I don't as much. So I was like, we'll set her up. I'll keep coming from my place of surrender, which works really well for me, and I'll work with her energetics. And that combination, and I think we both came together too with this vision, right? And this bit bigger vision. And then we launched to her in a community, basically with honesty with storytelling of this is her journey. And she really came to see that she hasn't, almost that alignment is a huge part of her journey and these tools and techniques, and she hasn't been giving them to her clients. So it was this real honest storytelling that she's like, well, I brought Candice in. And then I just shared my story. So basically we just, you know, went live in her communities. We answered questions, we chatted about it, we shared her story with me. I shared my story, basically like this story. And then I think, it's that thing which you would know, is like then the people who are meant to come and resonated with me, they would. And then, so there was, I think we had 12 women sign up that day, and we haven't launched yet to the greater community. And I haven't even told my community yet. I think I told them today in a post, but so we haven't even really told anyone else. So that's like, I think my nervous system has to get around that, like that $91,000 day is a new normal, but it can be a consistent normal as well. So I'm just kind of getting myself on board for that. So if you've got any tips.
Yeah. Well, this is so inspirational, I think, for so many of our students and new coaches as well. And I agree with you, coming from a place of service, that's what it is. But you launched to 69 people, right? Like so many people would think to do a almost 6-figure launch, you need to have 100,000 followers or whatever 100%. It is. No, you need 69 people that trust you.
And me, who trust you, right? And I think because you've got that dream clients course. So like, if you worked through that, found the people who are your dream clients and your ideal clients, and then you give them what they want and they need, it works. Like I've always talked to everyone. I've been that person that's scared to niche. Like, how can I box myself? How can I, but I've seen the power of talking to a specific person through this launch, and it's really changed my mind a lot. I thought it was boxing, but it's really, I've seen that it's actually quite freeing, because you can just speak. It's like this, having a conversation. I'm not having to try to talk to everyone and make sure everyone understands me, because they're not all going to understand. And I think that's the thing too, like my personal like social media. So I think I'm up to like just over 1,000 on Instagram, like it's and probably majority of them are my friends. And then on Facebook, I have a Facebook group which has like 190 people in there. Again, so many of them are my friends. So doing this work and then becoming attractive, like, we don't need humongous followings to get the clients, to get the money, to be a success. I think with my first launch, my $30,000 launch, I reckon I had like 90 people in my Facebook group or something. And that's where most of them came from. So, so if anything too, like you said, that inspiration, like one of my intentions is always just to be a light that, like, I'm just like I'm a mum. We live like, the majority of the time I'm literally a mum. I'm wearing like my tracksuit pants and stuff. I'm not like very glamorous on,
Lately, same. Before I was all about the glam. I was talking to my coach about that. I was all about the Chanel, and I'm like, luxury for me now is cuddles with my kids.
Oh my God, so good.
That's all. That nothing feels better. I could go. We were literally just having this conversation. Like, I could go buy 10 bags right now. Do not give an F. I just cuddle with my kids all day. Happiness, pure bliss. And this. Like, I want to start finally, I'm starting a podcast next year. And we were just talking about like, what are the things that bring me joy now as this new Reese who's come out of a pandemic with 2 new children, 2 beautiful children. And it's like, luxury for me now is connection. It's these types of conversations. It's the event that we did yesterday where we saw people shift in front of our eyes. And I don't know how that translates in marketing, but it doesn't matter, because the right people will resonate, like you're saying, with your story.
100%, right? Yeah. Well, and I think it's that thing of when we just allow ourselves to be completely us and then completely seen, especially if we're doing an online business. We don't have to show all part. I'm not into that either. Like, you don't have to share your deepest. I've moved through some stuff this year, which is personal, and I don't feel, but I feel like I can speak, that I understand things, but I don't have to share everything. It's still my business, and I think the more I get, as the business gets bigger, like really, or I say it's like putting my big girl pants on. Like, I'm treating it more like a business too now. Like before, it was kind of just me having fun and seeing what happens, and not really, I could step in more, but like there was this hesitation, but now it's like, okay, let's let's step in and treat it like a business, but with all this, with the alignment as well, right? Like, I think we're shifting paradigms at the moment in the world from this real patriarchy and this is the way slave away and do this, and it's like, oh, we're all shifting. I think the coaching industry, the online industry, we're shifting that we can do it with ease and grace and love and joy and space and cuddles. Like, that's success, isn't it? Like, if you have time to sit and be present with your children, like that's $1 billion to me.
Absolutely. I agree. And going back to that point too on niching and your stream clients, I don't think you can niche a human. So I'm saying in the program, I say, like, don't niche yourself, because that's going to be impossible. And that's going to feel hard and sticky and uncomfortable because you're so multidimensional. You can't fit inside a box. So I say, don't package yourself, package your program.
Yes. I love that.
Yeah. And then when you package your program and you're launching, it makes sense to talk about relevant things as you're doing that launch, but you don't have to do that for the whole rest of your life. So if you right now decide you have 2 beautiful children and maybe you're going to unschool them, right? Maybe you do a program around your experience with unschooling and you create a community of people with that. It makes sense for the 20 days before you launch it to talk about tips and stories and things you learned and things you're celebrating about that experience until you launch. But it doesn't mean that that's all of you and that's all you have to talk about for the entire rest of your life. And if you post a video of you making your smoothie in the morning, now you're off niche or whatever. It's just like, package the program, make it make sense while you're in that launch, but you still get to be you entirely.
I love that. And I think that needs to be spoken more almost, because I think, especially to the people like me who have been, and it's like that, it felt very uncomfortable, especially I'm a manifesting generator. Like, there are so many dimensions to me. And that was really terrifying. And it really confused me for such a long time as well, right? And it put me in inaction for a long time. But when you can, like you just said, niche your programs, niche your offerings, it like just brings so much space to my heart and to my body. It's like, I don't have to sit myself in a box forever. But like, and then you can follow your heart a lot more too, can't you? Because it's like, well, my heart's, like you just said, in this moment, this time of my life, this is what's important to me and this is what I've learned and I know I can help people. Here's an offering.
Exactly. And Yes Stream Clients literally breaks that down step by step how to do it. So it makes it really, really easy. So, the $91,000 day has the sizzle. So we talked about that and that's amazing. And it sounds like it was very much about sharing your story, and she had some strategy too, or she has a background in strategy, which is great. And it's so great getting to know you, and you're sharing that you're not really about the strategy. You're just about showing up as who you are and being in the energy and using these great tools from the Yes Supply method and integrating your emotions and getting aligned with your emotions. So, a $30,000 launch isn't anything to sniff at either. Like, that's pretty exciting. So do you want to share a little bit about how you did that, which sounds like it's on the more feminine energy, the other side of things? I'd love to hear what you did there.
That was like the funnest week of my life too. Like, it was so fun. My whole intention, like I'd done offerings before, like little ones, but they came from my mind for sure, right? Like, they were like, oh, this was the first offering, and it was basically my coaching container, my first coaching container, and I called it Alchemy. And it felt like it came from my heart. Like, it felt very vulnerable, felt very raw to release it to my community. But I did exactly like what you just said then. I talked about it. I shared about it. Actually, when I came out of Yes Supply, one thing I did do is I offered free coaching sessions like you guys recommend, to get out. And so I offered them to my community, and that gave me immense value as well. I felt really solid in the practice. I saw transformations. People were like, wow. So really doing that for free first led me to feel, again, that worthiness. And I felt valuable. I felt like who I am has something really to offer. So then when I launched the paid coaching containers, I was coming from that place. I had no intention, because specific goals don't work so well for me. I get really like kind of grippy, and then my head comes in and I try really hard. Whereas I really wanted to attract this, and I wanted to be the embodiment of it. So I just really, I prioritized and dedicated my alignment during that week of the launch. My energy was everything. I followed my heart in every moment. I was waking up early. Like, my morning practice is very important to me. That week, it was like all of it. I was meditating. I was, we live on the beach, or a street back from the beach. I would go and swim in the ocean. But I remember the feeling. I still remember like diving under the water. The sun was like not even up yet. I was up that early, and just feeling so grateful. I think the word was, like, the feeling was just like that this was my life. No matter what happened, no one had even, like, I put the stuff out there. Seriously, I got crickets, like nothing came through, but I didn't give up. Like, I didn't let my mind come in and doubt it. I didn't let, my mind wander to doubt. I was just like, this is amazing. This is so grateful. And I really just kept stepping every day with the belief this is happening, instead of, well, it doesn't look like it's happening. I didn't care what was coming through in reality yet. Mm-hmm. So I was just really that. And then I just felt so good. And then by the last day, I think there was 9 people reach out. And again, it was from that place of like, I didn't try to get them. They just DM'd me, and I'm like, yeah, here's the information if you want it. Like, I would love to see you, but I never checked back in with anyone. I never did any of that. I just was in full trust that the right people were coming, and they did. And that weekend actually was my birthday, and I took my family, went to the city because we live on the coast, and I was just like, we never go to the city. We booked a hotel, and I had a vision. Actually, I do a lot of those future, what are they called, where you drop the future
energetic encoding.
Yes,
yeah, drop the goal in the future time.
I love that technique so much. And so I remember dropping a technique of, it was me and my husband out to dinner in the city, and we were like cheersing, and the feeling of us cheersing was like, I did it. And I felt like I'd cracked the code to success and to us never having to worry about money. And so then when that happened, we were living it, and we were in the city. It was different. Like, it wasn't exactly as I saw it, but I knew the moment, and I was like, whoa, like, this works. This, like, yeah. But it was the funnest week. I was on the biggest high, like, and I actually got COVID the day we got back, and I was like, wait, this isn't my high, but I probably needed a rest. That's for sure.
Yeah. Sometimes we get sick because our body is just telling us to slow down. It sounds like you really launched in the quantum.
Yeah.
That's like a program name right there, launching in the quantum. It sounds like you really launched in the quantum because it was all about the energy. 100%. And we teach this, manifesting, believing, acting like it's already done, being in gratitude. Not everyone, but everyone knows this, who's into manifestation and is into coaching. You actually lived it. That's the difference, right? Like, I feel like I have to say this 3 times for people to like really hear it, but it's like, do what you know to do. You have to live it, right? You know all the manifestation stuff, quantum physics, You have to actually live it. And you also became a product of the product. The best way to sell coaching is to use it, right? So you did your own morning rituals. You got yourself into the energy. You were your best client. And so it showed. And I'm willing to bet that what you talked about in the week that you were launching wasn't as important as the energy you were in when you were talking about it.
100%. I almost feel like I maybe didn't need to talk about anything, but I talked when I felt like talking, like it was like, I got to show up and I got to say this right now. But you're so right. It's that energy, and that's that word embodiment. I use it a lot now. I didn't really understand it before. And I think this is what this work with you helped me do is I've studied everything. Like I have studied my entire life, and I feel like I had all that knowledge up here. The last few years has been bringing it into my life and living everything I know. And now it's like, that's my work, is just when I go to do something or I think about what I'm calling in, I just live it. I don't tell anyone about it. I just live it and be it. And I have seen with huge results. That is the magnetic force. That is literally it. Live it, breathe it, let it radiate through all of your cells. And for, like you said, my morning practice is everything to me. Like I call them medicines. So my morning practice is my medicine. I like to say that my whole life is medicinal. I have created a life that supports me, and I'm getting very boundaried. Like I drink less, like all these things that it's like, I want to just feel the best, basically, that I can possibly feel. And the more I play with it too, I'm getting less and less. I used to be very conscious manifest, I want this, and then I line up and want it. But now I'm playing with just surrendering, just like you talked in the very beginning about presence, like being present with my children. So I'm like, if I'm just present and I'm feeling the best I possibly can, and I come from a place of service and love, and then I'm just surrendering to God or the universe, take me wherever. And that's been that's becoming wild. That led me to that $92,000 day. Like if I just know that anything's possible, then there's no limits almost. And the universe is taking me to some cool places. Like here with you, I'm so stoked. This is amazing.
I'm so happy to be talking to you. In that moment, you were cheersing your husband, and then you thought back to how you manifested that moment. Did it feel like a hologram? The reason why I ask is because, I've manifested a lot of different things, but there's one that, I don't know, it really hit me. Like I'd already been manifesting, but then when this happened, it really hit me how much like the universe is a hologram, and like our thoughts create reality. And so it was, I used to work at a tech job, a 9 to 5, which was like, I liked the job, but I knew supply was on the horizon, more things were on the horizon. And I used to walk down this one specific street because I loved this one house. And fast forward a few years later, I was sitting at home and something told me it's time to look for an office. And so I went on Kijiji, which is kind of like the Canadian Craigslist, and that place had been listed like 5 minutes before.
Wow.
And so I knew it was for me. And I actually drove there. Like I was supposed to meet my assistant I was about to hire. And I was late for that appointment because I drove there and walked in. And I said, I saw this listing, and the lady who was working didn't even know because the landlord listed it without telling her.
Wow.
And they gave it to me because I showed up, and they said, I liked your energy. And so I was working there for a bit, and I finally hired a company to put the sign outside, like this Yes Supply flag outside. And when I was looking at it, it was just such a wild feeling because like I was looking at this flag that I had visualized like a million times before, walking down the street to my old job, like not even like, it just felt like a whole different like parallel universe lifetime. And it really just felt like I had looked, expected something, and collapsed the wave into the particle of what I was seeing right in front of me.
It's a trip, isn't it? Sometimes it trips me out. I have to be very grounded in my body because it can be such a wild trip, all this quantum like stuff. So I have to be, it can be actually one technique in Yes Play, you just remind me of something that was very similar, that feeling. We did the neuroenergetic encoding, and we deposited something in the future. And I was like, with my partner, I was like, I'm just going to play around with it, like $100,000 or something like that. And I remember, she was asking, like, what are you wearing? And I used to do Yes Apply, and I'm in Australia. So it was like, I was always like 4:35 in the morning. So I was just in like my pajamas, basically. So I was like, oh, I'm just wearing what I'm wearing now. And she's like, where are you? Oh, I'm just in the kitchen. And so it was just this very normal morning, but I looked at my phone in the vision that we deposited. And I saw in my bank account there was $100,000. Anyway, got off that call, didn't think much about it. I was on a high though. Like I felt, how you just feel high after all the Yes Apply calls. And I went out into the kitchen and I picked up my phone to put a song on. And I was like, and then I had deposited that my kettle went off and my dog was barking. And then my kettle went off. The dog was barking. I was wearing the exact clothes that I had just said that I was wearing. And I was like, this vision literally, like, the only thing is I don't have $100,000 in my bank account. But I was like, that's more than enough. I'm like, what the hell? Like, the vision happened 20 minutes after the call. Anyway, though, I was just stoked with that. That night, we were sitting around having dinner. My husband gets a phone call, and we'd had a block on the market, like a land. We had land over on this other coast, been for sale for like, I don't know, a year or something. I didn't even think about it. He called and he sold it that day.
Wow.
It was so, I was like, what is going on? So we ended up with more than $100,000 in our bank account. And I was like, I've got goosebumps still thinking about it. I was like,
me too.
This work is wild. I'm like, this is just the craziest thing ever. So yeah, that was after a Yes Apply, one of the calls. It was very cool.
That is amazing. I love it because you don't always have to know the how.
You don't.
You just have,
yeah.
You just have to clear what's happening on the subconscious.
You do just have to clear what's happening on the subconscious, and then I think it's like you said, just do the daily work that makes you feel. For me, it's like, what's going to make me feel better today? And then I take my medicines. Presence is like, I've studied yoga and been a yogi for a long time, which is actually where a lot of my money blocks came from that I had to release through Yes Apply. But then the presence, like, just be present now. Like, there's so much magic around, and when you're in that energy of magic, and then it's gratitude, and then it's love, if you embody that most of the day, you're only just going to get stuff that mirrors that, and it's so beautiful.
What's your favorite technique?
My God, I love so many of them. Do you know one that I do love that lots of people are like, oh, it's like, they don't rate it as much? I love anchoring, for the simple purpose that we attract by how we feel.
Yeah.
So the fact that I can have access, I have an alignment anchor. So this is like the most juiciest feeling that floods through my body. It's like falling asleep on the beach in the sun. And so, it's such a simple technique. But I feel like, from a law of attraction point of view, it's so powerful. But I love parts integration. I love neuroenergetic encoding. I even just love questioning. I love talking. I'm a Gemini. So it's like, yeah, what's your favorite? Do you have one favorite?
My husband's a Gemini. I think I go through phases of different ones. So I feel like when I first learned about these techniques, I liked neural energetic encoding the best, like going back to the root. Then I liked, it's so funny. At first I was like, I don't know about Swish, but then I fell in love with Swish, and that was the most amazing thing. Most recently, it took me a while to get into it. Most recently, I think I like parts integration. I think parts integration is so powerful. It's so powerful
and so beautiful. I feel like it's a real holistic technique. Like, it's like, it's just bringing all of us, all of who we are. Like, it's so beautiful.
Yeah. How did you know it was time to sign up for Yes Apply?
I always follow my body, right? Like, so I was watching you for ages, and I was like, oh, I love you. I love you too. I love what you say. I love what you do. I love your offering. But I guess I was just starting to come into a place of really trusting my body and trusting my heart. And my body just kept saying, like, just kept being drawn to it. And, it just kept being drawn to it. And once you start to learn to trust that, you know, and then you do it a couple of times and it leads to magic, it becomes easier to trust it. So I feel like if anyone's been watching you and thinking about it and they're a coach, or even if they're not a coach yet, right? Like obviously but they want to change their lives and they want to work online. And for me, like freedom, I want to travel the world with my family. I just do it. Just you would I can't imagine that you've ever had one person regret it. Like I can't imagine you've ever had one person say, I wish I didn't do that course. Like I just can't imagine.
Exactly. At the very least, you're learning so much about yourself and you're doing
100%.
the personal work. And then at the very most, you're traveling, you're quitting the job you don't like, you're having freedom, I think the thing that I love the most is when people message me and they're telling me that they're able to do things that they didn't know that they would be able to do, or didn't even know that they would like need to do. Like someone be like, I'm so grateful I took Yes Supply because, you know, my grandmother in a different country was going through something and I was able to just drop everything and just go. And I had the money to do it and I had the resources to do it. Or I was able to finally spend the holidays with my family after always having to work through the holidays, or just it. And that's what it's mostly about. Like, it's like those little things. And then of course there's the $91,000 days and the 30K months and the 50K months and all that fun stuff too. But it's because of the freedom.
100%. It's the freedom. And it's like, yeah, the money is amazing and it feels good in my body, like more freedom, but it's everything else that's like you said, it's the cuddles on the couch. Like I see people, I've always been an entrepreneur, but there's like people, like you would see, like people work jobs that they hate. Like we have one life that we remember.
Yeah. And
it's so sad to me that people just work. You see people were really sad, people were depressed, people were anxious, people have not enough money. And really, like, you can change that. And like I always just think, like, what are we all doing? Why are we all not laying on the beach just drinking out of coconuts? Like, why? Like, it's why? Like, it blows my mind. It's like you don't have to, when you believe, and that's what Yes Supply gave me. It's that belief in myself, belief in the possibilities, and then the tools and techniques to firstly open them for me. Because I was actually, that's another thing, before Yes Supply, I was looking at maybe I need a coach. And I was like, well, I don't know if it's to do with me being a manifesting generator or just how I work. I was like, well, if I sign up for Yes Supply, like I will get coaching because you do. You're so much coaching. I come out as a coach. So I was like, well, why just pay a coach if I want to eventually be a coach? Like it was double whammy. So I feel like I got a year of coaching plus, like, you know, I came out as a really, I feel like a really equipped coach. So it was a bonus for me.
I don't think people see all of the value that you get inside the Yes Supply method. And you just remind, like, whenever people ask, I always say it's a one-stop shop for everything that you need to become a successful coach. And you just reminded me, you actually do get a built-in coach too, because you go and every time you're practicing a technique, you show up to the call and you say, I'm working through this, or this is my block, or this is my resistance. And then someone's like, poof,
I know.
Help it disappear.
Yeah, it was wicked. It was awesome. Yeah, after every call, I was just on the biggest high, and I loved it. Like I was up at like 4 a.m. doing the calls. Like it was like my favorite day of the week. And then I would always it was on a Friday, I'm pretty sure. I'd always take the rest of the day off to just like integrate my my new learnings. And but it was such an awesome year for me.
That's beautiful. I know you said you manifested coming on this call and sharing. So what did you want to share? What's something that you would love for more people to know about you, or about whatever you feel called to share?
I feel like it's just that being the light, right? And I think I see this with my clients is we're all scared to kind of be the light for judgment. I don't know if it's big over there, but in Australia, it's like, we call it the tall poppy syndrome. But I'm like, you know, and by being the light is that embodiment. It's just like, live your life the way you want your clients to live their lives, the way that you know it's possible. Just be that person, like show up every day for yourself. I was talking to my son about this yesterday in the car. he was talking about bragging. He's a Leo, and I don't know if you guys know much about Leos, but they're like, they're
My
quite out there.
son's a Leo.
Oh, do you have a Leo son as
Yeah.
well? I was always Googling how to parent a Leo. It's like, they need to be the center because they are the sun, but at the same time, they're extremely sensitive. And he used to brag, and we never like said anything, but he was telling me in the car about how, I've stopped bragging, about he's good at everything. Leos are. I was like, yeah, mate. I'm like, when you're good at stuff, you don't need to tell anyone. Like, just you being good and feeling good tells everyone. And it was like, it's that reminder of like, you just be the best you, shine your light bright, and you will attract who's ever meant to come into that. And then it's like, they light up, and then they light up. And it's like partnering with my new business partner. She always says it's like the global domination of goodness. And I just see like, as coaches, like when we embody it, we're just spreading this light around the world, and we're literally changing the vibration of the world, which has always been my intention, is just, if we can raise those people out of those darker, heavier vibrations into the light. And if everyone was walking around with their cup filled, like there would be no hate. It's just love, just love. I don't know if I just went on to a big tangent there, but just
that was
love.
so beautiful. And I feel like when we're talking about the things that are great about us, it's also ask ourselves, what is the intention behind it? Because yes, bragging, we don't necessarily want to brag, but what if the intention behind it is I'm doing it and you can do it too, right? 100%. Because perhaps your son, through saying, I'm really good at this sport, or I'm really good at that, he can show other people, you can be really great at this sport, or you can, and and you are so right about your business partner is so right, who's saying like spreading the good, because I remember kind of grappling with sharing my success with Yes Supply and, be appearing as bragging or whatever, and still have that internal conversation all the time. Yes. But a big thought that I had was, what if more people knew it was possible to create a lot of success, or create a lot of money, or create a lot of happiness or freedom through being good and working on your emotions and everything like that? How much less like drug dealers would be on the street, or how much less crime? It's like, oh, you can make 5K through selling drugs, or you can make 91K in a day through selling a manifestation program. I'm going to do that. It's like, it's like you can actually shift where the economy is going and how people are spending their time and investing their time.
Yeah. And like, imagine, like, I always just think the conscious people like you and myself, it's time for us to have the money, because we haven't had the money. I know you probably attract a lot of spiritual, well-being, holistic people like myself. And we've been kind of conditioned to not want more than enough. Like, that was such a big thing for me. I learned it through Yes Supply. I looked at my money stories, and I literally had the story, I don't want money. Money equals sacrifices I am not willing to make. When we look at it, and when I saw that money was neutral, and that in fact, like, now one of my real driving forces here is, if the conscious women especially had the money, the world would shift dramatically, right? Like, we'd all be buying organic from the local farmer and supporting the tailor down the road. And, so it's like, it's time, I think. And what a blessing. Like, we all hate social media and we all love it, but what a blessing it exists, that we it's like a portal to be able to do this work and receive money. Like, what? I know it's like that thing, sometimes you have to, like, there's a lot of programming, or there's a lot of mindset work that we have to do in order even to allow ourselves to receive the money for doing work we love online and having space. But if we do that work, like you said, and then we share it, and I think we're always going to get, I don't know if you do, but there's going to be people that are triggered by it. Like, I'm aware of who I tell, like, just even within my friendship communities, because I know some of them, it won't land well, and they're jealousy, or, and then it's trying to bring you down. But then going through Yes Supply and understanding mindset, you can take that not so personally, because you understand it's not anything to do with you, especially when you're always coming from your heart. So I understand when the reactions aren't just joy and excitement, because they've got stuff as well, and it's not me.
Yeah, they're butting up against their own limiting beliefs.
Yeah.
I had someone message me because I posted a story essentially sharing that I lost, and trigger warning for anyone who's listening, trigger warning for weight loss, postpartum. But I talked, and not that my postpartum had been easy, but I was celebrating in a story that I could fit in my old clothes. I don't have to go shopping for new ones. And somebody messaged me not being happy that I shared about that. And, you know, at first glance, I could think, okay, I'm not allowed to talk about anything on my platform. But instead, I had a real heartfelt conversation with this person, and through the DMs and voice notes. And this person was working through a lot of things. And so that's why she projected that onto me. And in the voice note, she actually started crying. She had a realization of what she was working through. And we connected, and she thanked me for giving her a little bit of space. And now we can't always, you know, give everyone that space. It's like you could get a million comments, not be able to respond to all of them. But yes, it's when we receive those negative comments, a lot of the time it's because the other person also too is working through things. And so we can both understand each other, and we can both exist, and we can both be different and post about what we want to post about. And I think if we're being conscientious of like trigger warnings and people knowing what your space is about and what your space isn't about, we can all coexist, having different lives, having different successes, having different experiences.
Totally. And then it's like celebrating that, isn't it? Like you move into that. And I think it's like the less limiting beliefs that you have when you do this work, the more when I see success, I just feel so excited for them. Like,
Yes.
You know, it's just so much like, wow, this is amazing. You're so excited because you don't have that second thought saying, oh, but that's not for you. You can never do that. Or, you know, like this will never happen for you, because we've learned to, even if they're still there, we understand what they are. They're not truths. So then you can just be so excited. And sometimes you can forget. I can forget. I get very excited. So when someone's not that excited for me, I can sometimes take that personally. But then, like you just said, I sit with it and I understand that's not me, that's them. And then I can sometimes too be sensitive. And I've learned, I know the right time to share it. Same within the business, like I just said before, like showing up and sharing. I know when I get a prompt to share something on my social media, I also know when I'm sitting with like a friend of mine, if I should share my recent wins or not. And I know, you know that.
Absolutely. I was just talking to my coach, and she was saying like, my social media is like my home, right? So it's like what you're doing in your home, you can expect, you know, the respect or whatever. And so it's like, yeah, you can share what you want to share in your home, and people know what your house rules are. And if they don't want to come to your house, they also don't need to come to your house too. And I've never been someone to post negative comments or anything like that, but definitely in the past, I've seen people sharing success, and in the past that triggered me. And then I had the realization, what is this bringing up in me? Oh, they're showing how you can make a lot of money really easily, or you can have a lot of success really easily. Where am I telling myself that I'm not allowed to have a lot of wealth or success or whatever really easily? Okay, I have work to do. And after doing that and reprogramming a lot of the money mindset restrictions that I had on myself and resistance that I had on myself, now I'm the same as you. I see someone buy a new yacht and I'm like, that is amazing. I don't even want a yacht, but that is really cool to see you do that. And it's a whole different experience than when you go online.
Totally. Yeah. So, but I understand the triggering too in the beginning. And like you said, yeah, where is that resistance in me? And I think that easy thing, like I've loved the word ease and effortless, and I use it a lot. It's not that I don't do the work, like, but my work is different. I do the energetic work, like we were saying. I'm obsessed and devoted to my personal alignment, which takes a lot of time and energy. But then it doesn't feel like work. And so, yeah, it's like that when people see success and then they speak it, that it came with relative ease, or not sacrifice, I guess, not doing something that you don't want to do. When you're in a space where that's, yeah, all you know, it's very confronting.
Well, I want to be conscientious of your time. I loved talking to you. I loved getting to know you more. I loved hearing your story. I loved hearing how much, yes, supply is helping you or has helped you, and how you're integrating into the world. And it's so much. And I loved hearing about your successful launches as well. And I only hope for even more success for you. So I'm sure everyone who's listening or watching will want to learn more about you and follow along on your story. So what would be the best pathways for that?
Maybe just, I've got a connected social media, what do you call it? Instagram, and I think and Facebook. Well, they're connected my end. I don't actually know if they're connected on other people's ends. I'm still not that great. But I'm on Instagram.
Doesn't seem to matter. You're still doing great, right?
Yeah. Candice J. Allen on Instagram. I'm pretty sure that's what I am. Candice J. Allen on Instagram. And I think I'm Candice Hooper on Facebook. I have a little private Facebook group too, like if anyone wanted to come in, where I literally just talk about what's on my heart, basically. But find me there.
And so just for clarity too, so you had your $30,000 launch to your private Facebook community that you said there was like a couple hundred people in there?
Not even, like it would have been around 100 when I did it. And I did launch it on my Instagram, which had at the time, I reckon, like 800. Like I said, I reckon most of them were my friends.
That is so inspiring. That is so inspiring. Because people think they need to be you know, have millions.
Just show up. I think it's like we talked about resonance, like show who you are. And I'm a bit of a dork as well, right? And I've hid that from people. I think I thought I had to not be a dork. Like I find myself funny. My husband's not on any social media whatsoever. And I'll show him something that I wrote that I think is hilarious. And he's like, it's not funny. And I'm like, and I'm like, but it's like, I just let myself be me. I don't try to speak to someone in a way, because I think eventually you'll fall if you're not just being you. And so, and people see that. So I say to everyone, just be you. It doesn't matter if you've got 100 people in your social media, just be you. And the people who are meant to be with you will fall in love with you. That's beautiful. Will want to work with you.
I love that. And what would you say to someone who's thinking of joining the Supply Method?
Oh my God, don't think. That's
true.
Don't use this. Go into your body. And seriously, it's like if you feel it, like I've got goosebumps actually just thinking about it. If you feel it, like just take that step. That's a sign to the universe too, that like I want this, and I want success. And it's like a solid step, declaring to the universe, this is where I'm going. I believe in myself. Or even if I don't truly believe in myself, I believe my body's calling me this way for a reason. So yeah, don't think about it. And you do payment plans too, right?
Yes.
Like I went on the payment plan. It was totally doable. It was totally doable. And yeah, I feel like you could never regret it.
Well, you definitely made your investment back.
Oh my God.
So that's great. That's
and I can see. Yeah, and I can use that with my husband too. I'll be like, remember that big investment that I made, and look what it did. Like, so in future, when the next thing I want to do, I know he'll have my back for sure.
Yeah, whatever you invest, you make it back tenfold, hundredfold. Beautiful. Well, yeah, I really appreciate your time, and it was so great to get to know you and talk to you. And thank you for inspiring. And I'm really excited to share this with more people.
Yeah, well, thank you for inspiring me. I wouldn't be here without you.
Oh, thank you.